Hi, I'm Macy.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between.
Well, hey, bestie.
Hey, bestie. Happy podcast day.
Happy podcast day. This one is going to be one of those extra special podcasts.
It is. It's one of my favorite things. I love it when this happens, when my two worlds collide.
I know. You're one of the few people, I think, at least in my world, that love it when their worlds collide. Like, I think so many people love when their worlds are like separate. This is this group of friends. This is this group of friends. This is family.
Nope, not me. I know. I love it.
You do love it. You've loved it ever since I known you. So, well, without further ado, Missy, why don't you go ahead and introduce our extra special guest to our listeners today?
I will. Listeners, today we have my childhood bestie, best friend for always, Dayna Moseley. She is an amazing individual. She lives in Nashville, Tennessee with her wonderful husband, and they have two boys. But Dayna, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, hello, Missy and Macy. I'm so happy to be here with both of you. Wow, a little bit about myself. The fact that, yes, as Missy mentioned, I live in Nashville. I'm recently retired, but have worked in healthcare for over 35 years.
Which seems impossible, Dayna, because you don't even look like you're 35 years old. So how you can work in healthcare for 35 years, I don't know.
Well, very kind. I do have I have two sons, and so that might kind of age me a bit, as well as I have two granddaughters. So I love
Give them a shout out, Dayna. Say their names. Your whole fams, share their names.
Thank you. I have, of course, my wonderful husband, Robert.
And trivia, a little bit of trivia. Robert was one of our guests on our podcast.
Yes, he was. One of our first
of your
ones.
first.
Yeah, like I think number 5 or 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we have two boys. We have James and his beautiful wife who live in Charlotte, James and Macy, and they have my little grandgirls, Miller and Margot, or Go-Go. And then our youngest son lives here in Nashville, Curtis. And
so good.
Yeah, and so we have just loved having our family in Nashville for years, and then now traveling to Charlotte, which is only a 50-minute airplane ride to my grandgirls, but still far. So I miss them. But since I retired, I took up consulting work. And so that does allow me to travel some and still be in the industry. So I'm still in healthcare, which I really enjoy being able to make an impact in our healthcare. As we all know, patient experience and helping people get to their next level of care is critical right now. And so I find huge value in helping and connecting others in that phase. So,
and we love to talk about connecting.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Favorite thing. It's our favorite thing.
It is.
So that's my world right now is all about my family, about I have extended family, of course, in different areas of the country, but still in the southern area. And so traveling to get to see them is important. And like I said, just being able to help out in our community and the different things in the workforce where needed. That's my prayer, is where I'm needed, may I be.
Oh, so love it. Well, and that's a great segue into our quote that we're going to talk about on this episode. And here is our quote. You ready? The most powerful leadership tool you have is your own personal example. And it was John Wooten who said that.
Yeah, that's so good. And as we're kind of going through this, we're going to flip the script a little bit on this quote. So, Dayna, before you dive in, you're going to let us know what the quote means to you. But what we want to do, if you're okay with it, is we want to focus on using your example of faith in the workplace so that someone who is listening, maybe they're in their workplace, how they would be able to share their faith with confidence. So maybe an easy place to start would really be, how did you do that? Like, how did you come to this place where you could share your faith in the workplace with confidence?
Yeah, because we know it's a huge part of your leadership style, Dayna.
So I think about really the authenticity behind it. It really is about being real. I mean, I know that might sound cliche, but when I look at the things that are important to me, that's what I took into the workplace. And I still do today. So things like when I'm being really practical about it, I'm thinking about how before I even stepped foot in the workplace, even if it was remote, I say stepped foot, but before I went in, it's about prayer. Like I prayed about how I was as a leader. I prayed over the organization, over the people there, that I led with integrity, that I led in transparency, that I led in all the ways that I was as a person, so that I'm the same person at home that I am in the
Yes.
workforce.
Yes.
And so it's the prayer piece, it's the caring. It's when I went in the office, I wanted people to know that I cared about them. I wanted them to see it in my action. I wanted them to hear it in my words. I wanted to know they were valued. I wanted people to know that I was going to treat them the same way that I would want people to treat me. And
So
so
good.
all of those, it was really intentionality. I had to be very intentional about it. And so I had several things over the years that shaped me into that, but that's what I grew to implement as a leader that showed my faith. It was faith first, and I wanted people to know that and to see that in me. So those are some of the ways that I made sure that I was true to myself and true to others.
Dayna,
So good.
I'm just curious, just real quick, based on what you shared, was that revealed in the interview process? Like, had you let the person know who was hiring you, how strong your faith was, and that, you were going to bring it into the workplace? I'm just curious if that ever even came up.
Um, no, I won't say that it came up like on like during a interview question or a response on purpose. I think I was just always myself. So when I interviewed people, I just talked about them a lot, getting to
Yeah.
know them.
Yeah.
I think it's just in kindness and caring, but never like a faith-based question,
Okay.
or
Yeah, I
I
was just
never
curious.
stated
Yeah.
anything about
Well,
that.
I
I
think
think
it oozes from you. I mean, it is who you are, right? Like you talked about valuing that authenticity and leadership. I think all three of us do. And so maybe this is kind of where you were going with that, Macy, but like what happens in an environment where a leader wants to be authentic, Dayna, but perhaps, and you've had, several jobs over the years. What about if sharing your faith is frowned upon and maybe you were worried it might be frowned upon? How would someone handle that, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there are so many subtle ways that you can go about your faith in the workplace that you don't have to, wear a sign. You don't have
Right.
to preach it. You can still share it. And so when I say share it, I mean be there for people. Do inspirational either messages or cards. Or one of the things that I think is so important when you're maybe not wanting to be so I hate to say forceful, but you still want to show faith.
Hmm.
But you know what? Take someone to lunch, take them to coffee.
Yes.
So much comes out. I say when you break bread together, but when you have a meal together, or when sit down one on one and
Hmm.
you just listen. You just
Yeah.
listen. And that your faith comes out a lot in that, without having to have a plan, or be so scripted
Right.
in
I'm going to
sharing
pull out
faith.
my card and share
Right.
it with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think too, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people who share your faith, right? But there's a lot of people who don't share your faith. So I think what you're saying is you're able to inspire others through your values without alienating them, because you're not wearing a sign that says, ask me about my faith, or you're not
Yeah.
wearing the I love Jesus t-shirt to work. I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, but it sounds like you're inspiring others just through being who you are. Like you're
Mm.
not, like Missy said, you're not bringing out the script and say, okay, this person has my values, I should be saying these things, or this person doesn't have my values, I should be saying this. It is about what you had mentioned earlier about being authentic.
Yeah. And you know what? Not being judgmental.
Yes.
Someone may not have my same beliefs, and that's okay. I'm
Sure.
not going to judge them. I'm going to keep being authentic, being
Yeah.
me, and sharing. And you know what? We learn so much from other people. So the more you can be with them, you're just sharing. Something I learned, I don't know how many years ago, but it's still about authenticity. But in my office, I always kept things that reflected me. So if it
Hmm.
was a
Right.
cross, if it were Christian books, if it were books on prayer, whatever it was there. And so people saw it, people knew it. And you won't believe how many times people were like, oh my goodness, you have that book too. Oh, I love that
Mm.
book. Did you like what? It just sparked conversation. So I feel like others, once again, see you, know you, watch your actions, watch your words, and show who you are. And
Yeah.
that's just a part of not having to worry. I don't remember your exact words you said, Macy, but it was like when people are not afraid, but
Alienating, I think is the word.
alienating.
Yeah. I love that so much, Dana. And our listeners, I know, are just smiling as they listen to you share. And I mean, we are called to be salt and light to the world, right? And salt makes things better and light makes things brighter. And if we are called to be those things, we can't be offensive. We can't be forcing our beliefs on, others. But I love what you said. Just, let them be who they are and you be who you are and let your light shine.
Yeah. I mean, I think in that what you were sharing, Dana, like even the books or the scripture or the cross, like those can be good examples of the quote, like as being a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered in your career, again, we're talking mostly about faith in the workplace, have you ever encountered pushback or discomfort when bringing faith into the workplace? And if you have, how did you respond to that?
So I don't have an exact discomfort of when I was bringing it. I have a time that I can reflect on when I wanted to start a devotional time in the workforce. Actually, two times. One in a small organization, and I learned that I needed to take this to HR,
Mm,
that I had to go ask permission to do that. And let me tell you, that's a little nerve wracking.
I
I mean, it
bet.
was. It was. It was like I had my whole outline for a devotional. I had already talked to a couple of colleagues and some that reported to me about their interest, and they were interested. So I had to go propose this, and I had no idea what my HR leader would say. Would they be supportive? Would they say, no, if I let you do it, I've got to let other people do it for all of, diversity. Um,
Sure.
and rightly so. So I was willing to take whatever. I just knew that I was called to
Sure.
bring a daily devotion to the workplace. So that was the time I think I was the most uncomfortable, but just because I had never done anything like that. I was very young in my leadership. So I remember those feelings like it was yesterday. But anyway, I went and presented and I got it approved.
Great.
So
Yay. And so, Dana, did they have like a practice in place of how to allow that to do things like
no,
that respectively? And have you
no,
seen that become kind of part of what workplaces are creating
yeah,
regarding culture?
yeah. Once again, that was years ago. It was
Uh-huh.
probably not even called HR. It was probably called personnel at that time. Remember,
Yes.
which now it's called something different, right? It's like people.
Culture. Yeah. People
Well,
culture or
Yeah.
something.
So back then there was nothing. I think that's why I was so nervous. But now there are departments for diversity in the workplace, and so one of my proposals that I did actually within the past 10 years was to the diversity department. And so it was a little bit more structured. Like there was a way to submit your request and a whole process and people you met with if you got past a certain point. So
Oh,
now, luckily, there are, and that's a large
I was just going to
organization,
say that sounds
very
like that
large.
was from a
No,
large company.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
mean, some of
this
these,
one, my first time was a very small organization, and many, many years ago. And now this is a large company. And
yeah.
so I do see companies offering or organizations offering opportunities like this, especially as our generations, change their views and perspectives. That's the opportunity to let people share with what their needs are in the cultures today. So
Yeah. And
Love
so
it.
maybe like someone, if they're thinking about it, they just need to reach out to HR and say, I have an idea. I'd like to do something like this.
yeah, and my proposal was not during work hours. My proposal was, could we do it
Yes.
over coffee in the morning before, the colleagues started? Could we do it at lunch or even after work?
So let me ask you this then. So if it was not going to conflict with work, why do you think that they had to go through HR?
Um, well, some of the reasons had to do with if you're on the work, like on site, so you
Hmm.
needed space to meet.
Okay.
So things like space, things
And I would
like,
also think like because you're a leader, there's this thin line. Like, would someone feel the pressure to do that because
Oh,
you're their leader? And so
okay.
yeah.
not that,
And yeah, no, great point. And not just the pressure point, but if they didn't have the same faith as me, then would I look at them differently because I'm
Right.
yeah.
not like, yeah. So all of that together. Um,
And I will also say this, Dana, like you've pretty much been like me. You've lived in the Bible Belt for the
yeah,
most greater part of your life. Chicago, I know, was maybe pushing it some. You were in Chicago for a while, but
the
we have
Midwest.
listeners, right, from all over the
Yeah.
world. And so someone might be in an area where they can't even imagine
Yeah.
having this type of conversation at work. And so, if that's you and you feel called to do it, just follow your heart and see, have the right conversations and keep moving toward doing what you're called to do. I have a question for you, Dayna.
Yes.
Did you have a mentor in your career or someone in the workplace that kind of set that example for you to follow? Or did you just go into it? And I think I know the answer, just knowing that it was important enough to you to make it happen.
Hey, bestie. I was thinking about our listeners this morning and imagine that so many of them are like managers that we have worked with from all over the world for the past decade, feeling overwhelmed and spread thin.
Yes, and they're probably finding themselves constantly repeating expectations, fixing mistakes, or carrying too much of the load, and it's time for a change.
At Mpactful Messages, we specialize in helping managers in high-stress jobs take back control of their team and their time. We know that they want to lead more effectively, increase team performance, and achieve all their goals without burning out. And we created a solution.
That's right. If you're solving problems your team should be handling, and you're explaining the same thing over and over again, and you're reacting to fires instead of leading forward, and you feel like it's all on you, you need to go right now to www.manager-reset.com and download our new guide.
And here's the thing. You don't need a new planner or another motivational quote. You need a reset.
So go right now to www.manager-reset.com for your free guide. You'll be so glad you did.
Well, I might surprise you because when I think back over mentors, I never really had the opportunity, I shouldn't say the opportunity, but I never really had a formalized mentor way back.
Right?
I had some leaders that I looked up to because I saw how they led people and I saw how they were authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can I do a shout out?
Please do.
One of those was Ron Kane. He was my first, he's from Hattiesburg. He was one of my very first leaders at the Institute for Wellness and Sports Medicine. And that man led with high value. He led with faith. He was the same person at work that he was at home. He would do anything that he asked anyone to do, he would do. So he actually was my first leader that I learned great value from.
So actually living out the quote, right? Like when you think about today's quote, leadership is setting the example for other people to follow.
Yes.
That was Ron Kane.
Yes, that was him.
Dayna, you have to send him the link for this podcast.
Absolutely.
It will make his day.
And I tell you, I have told him, Ron Kane, when you listen to this is no lie. I have told him throughout the years because his leadership has meant so much to me. So yes, he will know that, but I cannot wait for him to hear. And then I had two other leaders that were truly authentic, but taught me different things. One of them is Beth Kaiser, and
I knew Beth was going to come up.
She taught me so much about intentionality, learning how to care for people on purpose and knowing things about them and then following back up with them.
Now, I don't know her. It sounds like Missy knows her or knows of her, but she sounds like she's our kind of girl.
She is our kind of girl.
She is.
We'll have to get Beth to be on the podcast.
Oh my goodness, you have to.
Yes, she'd be great. I think she's on the list. Like I want to reach out to her.
So her as a leader with, and also praying. She's just a big prayer warrior. And then my third is a leader from HCA, Susan, and we did a Bible study together in her office with 3 other women. every morning before, and she was my leader, before we started work, we met in her office and
Wow.
prayed and followed a devotional. And no other leader has allowed me that space and time to do that. And so,
Mm,
anyway, shout out to those. And then I had a leader, I'm not mentioning a name, that I learned the opposite. I learned
yeah,
what
Yeah.
not to do. And
right.
it was harsh feelings, excuse me, harsh words to people. It
Yeah.
was not caring. It was total opposite. And I was like, whoa, this is what I do not want to be. And God puts people like that in our lives on
Oh,
purpose for
Yes,
a
Missy
for
and I
purpose.
talk
sure.
about it all the time. Like, I have had
Oh,
so many negative leaders in my
oh,
professional career, more negative than positive, which is
oh,
crazy to think, right? And so unfortunate. Where Missy often says she's had so many great
I've
leaders,
had
yeah.
so many
and
great
I
leaders.
hononestly cannot say the same. It's
But either
Oh,
way,
I'm so
it's the
sorry.
tool that teaches
Yeah.
us,
of
right? Just
course.
like the quote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I have a question, Dayna. Was there a moment when your faith was tested at work? It may have been
Maybe with that bad
maybe with
leader.
this bad leader, but was there a moment that your faith was tested, and how did you manage to respond still with grace and courage?
Um, Probably the response to the one person, and I almost said her name, so that was not good. Um,
She's probably not listening anyway, Dayna.
no,
No, because
not.
she's probably not growing to become a better leader.
Right,
If
that's
she
what I'm saying.
was,
Yeah.
she would be listening to the
Well,
Impactful Messages
I,
Let's Talk About It podcast.
I shall not be judgmental on
That's
her.
right.
So the only other time I can think of, I don't know if it was testing, but I said to a colleague, um, not one of my direct reports, so in the workforce, but not as a leader. But I remember saying, I hope you have a happy Easter to someone.
Oh,
And they said, I don't celebrate, so I won't be celebrating Easter. And then it was my how I handled that was from that point forward, I made sure that every time I was around that colleague, that I was still myself, that I was not judgmental on beliefs, kind of what we were talking about earlier, still giving words of inspiration, still being as transparent as I can, and not letting those words stop me from being who I am, or,
right.
it's just subtle ways. So it's,
Did it
it's
change your relationship with that person? Like,
no,
did you have a relationship with them?
not, not, I mean, a total working relationship. It didn't change. It just made me want to actually be around that person more, to share, and once again, subtle ways, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
leave inspirational notes, say hello, make sure that I had salt and light sprinkled
Yeah.
wherever I
So
could.
good.
So,
That's a
not
great
not
story,
a deep
Dana.
relationship, but one that I wanted to foster, if that makes
And
sense.
then I have another kind of follow up. Sorry, Miss.
That's okay.
I'm interested in this path from the other perspective. Were they offended, like when they responded? And I asked this. Let me give you a little bit of context. So I
Yeah,
was raised Jewish,
yeah.
and around
I
the
wondered if you were
holidays,
going here, Mace.
well, just around the holidays, especially. Like if someone says to my mom, "Merry Christmas," like she's kind of learned to not really be offended by it anymore, but she would get offended. Like, I don't celebrate Christmas. Christmas isn't the only holiday around right now. Like, what about the others? And, I just told her, don't waste your energy. Like, people just assume there's only one religion and that's all they ever know, maybe, right? So I was just curious if the other person, if you felt they were offended, because I also think as a leader, and she wasn't a
Hmm.
direct report of yours, so I'm not saying that
Hmm.
this was a fault of yours,
Right.
but as a
That I
leader,
should
it's
have known. Yep.
important to know who's on your team
Yes,
Yes.
or
that's
who you work
right.
with. So,
Oh my gosh.
the
Yes.
cashier at Publix isn't going to know whether my mom celebrates Hanukkah or Christmas, right? And
Right.
it's not their responsibility
Right.
to
But
know
a
that,
leader
but a
should.
leader
A
should. So I was
leader.
just
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. You've got to know your people. You have to have relationships. And so when you asked me if I had a relationship with her, I was like, no, or
Oh,
I would
yeah.
have known that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do think as a leader, we have to be very mindful and observe other people's beliefs. Absolutely. Um, I think that the individual did not take offense to it. You could tell that that was probably a pretty regular
Yeah.
comment. And so it was
She was
intentional for
comfortable in
me.
sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
comfortable in sharing, but it was intentional. It made me intentional to go back to her to be sure that I kept a dialogue. Once again, don't have a relationship. I mean, didn't have a deeper relationship, but made me want to just be with her and learn more about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And Macy, I think you and I, our friendship kind of started out that way, right? With you being Jewish and me being Christian. We always joke about it's amazing we're even friends. You know, you've got a New Jersey Jew and a Southern Christian girl that find each other and become great friends and besties. And how in the world does that happen? And I think at the beginning, we had to find that footing where I completely accepted you as someone from a different faith. You accepted me. I still was authentic. You were authentic. And I remember, and Dayna, you've probably heard me say this, but it's worth saying again, that when Macy and I first started being friends, she would say things to me like, hey, will you keep me in your thoughts about this? And so I would say yes. And of course, what I would do is I would go and pray. And then it got to the point where she'd say, hey, would you pray about this? And I would say, yeah. And then it got to the point where she would say, would you pray with me about this? And over time, the people who you pray for, you often pray with. And that's a
So
special thing that
good.
we have,
Yeah.
Mace.
It
So
is.
good.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that about
yeah.
y'all's relationship. I love it.
And I
Just,
think a lot of it has to come back to how we started, right? With intentionality and
yeah.
authenticity. Like Missy never wasn't who she was. And she was never forceful about, I have had people in my life that wanted me to be Christian so badly that they were so forceful about
Mm,
it that it was like, whoa, this is not for
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Because that I don't ever want to feel pressured. Missy never pressured me. It was just who she lived out who she was in such a way that it was that, oh, I want what she has. Right. I
And
want,
little does she know, I mean, she does now, but little did she know at the time when I would visit her house, I would go through the house praying, praying over her
Oh.
and her sweet family.
Oh.
God is good like that.
all right, let's wrap up. We've got a couple of other questions, Dayna. I'll ask the first one. These two are legacy type questions. So, first, what gives you hope about the next generation of leaders in the workplace, like them bringing faith into the workplace in a fresh and authentic way? Is there something that gives you hope about that?
Yeah. Not only hope, but it's things that I'm witnessing today. I'm witnessing in the workplace that this up and coming generation, they want to contribute in so many ways other than just work.
Mm,
Hmm.
They're wanting to show up, and I'm going to use it again, authentic. Like
Yeah.
they're willing to share, they're willing to be who they are, no matter who's in front of them. They're going to talk, they're going to share faith, but they really do want to give back. And so, stewardship is something that I find so valuable in leadership. So, giving back in the workforce, but community. And I really feel like this
I
generation
agree.
wants to, and I don't want to divert too much, but I did some work in HR on retention. And one of the things we found through research is to recruit the younger generation, you've got to show upfront that your organization finds value in going in the community. that
Mhm.
you are giving back. And so I find that is something that I'm witnessing, that they're prioritizing giving back, they're prioritizing well-being, that they care. And so it's their voice. And we as leaders now have to make sure that their voice is heard, so that as they're developed and they come up, they're making sure that they share their voice, but they're listening to other voices as well. So I just think it's a growing emphasis on authenticity,
Being real.
being real. And I
Yeah.
also think they're not afraid to explore new things.
Mm.
And I think that's real. Like, they're bringing that to the workforce. They love adventure, doing new things. So I think it's bringing, once again, being real to the workplace. And I think they're doing it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so a second question about legacy is, when you think about the legacy that you want to leave in your workplace, and this kind of tears me up, Dayna, how does your faith shape that vision?
First, I want to leave a legacy of being authentic and being intentional. But I want to make sure that it's evident that every decision I make, and we talked about the actions that I take, the words that I say, that they all reflect who I really am, that it's faith first. And so I want people to feel cared about. I want them to feel loved. I want them to know that I'm treating them like I would want to be treated. So knowing the people is important, knowing that the people know that I'm working hard for our mission, for our organization, and for the people we serve. And I'm being real, and I want to pass that on to others.
Yeah,
Wow.
I love that. Well, Dayna, thank you so much for sharing your heart. Obviously, today we talked about integrating faith, but keeping it professional, right? Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about in the workplace. So there's a line there, but it sounds like you've done in your career, 35 years, just such an amazing job, and really have lived out this quote about being a true example in your leadership.
Yeah, it's been incredible to have you here and get to hear you share what I already know about you. But it's time to share a takeaway from the week for our listeners. And so, if you only take one thing away from today's episode, let it be this: your daily behavior, how you respond, how you react, how you lead, how you treat people, your example. That's the true testament of your faith.
Yep.
And modeling through thoughtful actions can be more impactful than actual words.
That's right. And sharing faith thoughtfully means creating opportunities really for connection, not confrontation. When rooted in respect and listening to other people, faith can become a bridge that builds trust, not a barrier that breeds division.
So good. It has been such a treat to have two of my besties in the world in the same place. I loved it. Dayna, if our listeners want to stay connected with you or learn more about what your company offers, how can they do that?
I am on LinkedIn, Dayna Moseley, Moseley.
Okay.
We will put that in the show notes, of course. And
Yes.
Dayna, as we wrap up, we ask this question of all of our guests. So, what is your favorite leadership quote?
I'm excited to hear. I'm snuggling in.
Well, I actually think someone else may have used this, but it
That's
is
okay.
true. It's true to me, and it fit perfectly with our coffee talk today.
Okay.
So it is: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
It's
That
a
is a
great one.
perfect one for today, for sure.
It
For
is
I
sure.
believe it goes
great.
all the way back to Theodore Roosevelt.
Yep.
Yes, you're exactly right. Well, listeners, we want to hear from you too. Do you have a favorite leadership quote? Send it our way and we might spotlight it on a future episode.
We'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk
about it. Bye, besties.
Bye, bestie. Bye, Dayna.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
We want to thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M _ messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.